Hey, everybody, how you doing? Well, that's good. Welcome to PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. My name is Bill Matz. I'm your director of fun and games for the evening. Joining me today, it is Philly's #1 hockey beat writer, Charlie O'Connor, and Broad Street Hockey's own Kelly Hinkle. How are we doing today, everybody?
I require dopamine hits, so I need everyone to smash the like button.
Yes, it is very important that we all hit that like button. We need you to do it. And while I'm telling you little house cleaning stuff before we get into today's main topic, which is coaching candidates, guess what? This summer, different start time. Starting May 1st. I'm doing this so they can't take it back.
Oh, boy.
Now I've already said it, so this is true.
It's out there.
Starting May 1st, 12 noon start time for your friends here at PHLY Flyers. So make sure you write that down in your calendars. So if you want to join us live, get in on the Super Chats like you all always do so well. 12 noon starting May 1st. But today, we continue. Make sure you hit that like button.
William, I do want a little follow-up on yesterday's heated conversation.
Oh, how good are your mentions?
We may have a compromise here presented by the team because we found out today at practice that they are indeed going to play Aleksei Kolosov in games. So
every game.
This could be the compromise.
All 6.
The compromise of, no, we're not going to bench Travis Konechny, but we are going to play the goalie who you all know is an NHL caliber right now.
He is going to pitch 6 straight shutouts, including that back-to-back that they have, and he's going to finish 6th in Calder.
No, the explanation that Bradshaw, because he was asked about Kolosov, and the explanation Bradshaw gave was, yes, he's going to play. There are, I believe the quote was, lots of different scenarios that are being discussed. And I have to wonder, even though he didn't say it, I have to wonder if some of these scenarios are, if we really need to lose games, he's going to play more. If we really don't, let's say we lose 2 when Ersson and Fedotov plays, yeah, maybe Kolosov gets 1. But if there are 3 games left and we're on a 6-game winning streak, yeah, maybe it's time to take a look at the kid.
Asset management, folks.
Because he listens to the show.
Charlie, it's Charlie made the mistake yesterday of telling me what's annoying him before we went live. So we got to do that for 40 minutes.
Right.
It was a lot of fun.
Right.
But today I chose a topic that's going to annoy all of you.
Okay.
Well, I have I'm compiling this big list of potential candidates. Some of them, the guys I want, Fedorov and Zhamnov.
Are they even candidates, or are they just names you found?
Possibility. Until we know who the candidates actually are,
fair, yeah.
They are potential candidates.
That's fair.
Coaches who are available or may be available. But I'm compiling the big list, and I feel like every day we have a show like today, we should go through a few of them until we narrow it down and we know who they're actually looking at, who gets a second interview, or do they just be Bradshaw, you're the coach.
I think what annoys me about the names, not all, but most of the names you picked, is that this is all ostensibly stemming from the article that Jeff Marek put out on Daily Faceoff.
Yes.
That's one of the big things. And I read that article, and there were 2 or 3 names in that article that I thought, yeah, that's intriguing. And you picked none of them for today's show.
None of them are for today's show, because today's show I wanted to annoy everyone else after I annoyed you yesterday.
Okay.
And we're going to lead it off with the guy who Kelly and I it was last time we went through this, we said it is either going to be John Tortorella or Rick Tochet. We both wanted Jim Montgomery.
Yes.
But we knew exactly what was going to happen. It's going to be the guy who was born to be a Flyer or the guy who actually was a Flyer twice. Turns out they went with Torts, but now it seems as if Rick Tochet could very well be available, at least in terms of, you might have to give up a pick or something to get him.
Yeah, his situation's interesting.
It's very odd.
So let's talk about his situation before we talk about the potential fit. So, just to set the stage. Do you want to, or do you want me to?
So I believe this is what it is, because we went over this yesterday. This is the last year of his confirmed contract. And then there is an option for next season.
Yes.
I do not know, because I keep seeing conflicting reports, At first I read mutual option. And now I'm seeing it's a team option, and the team is like, oh, yeah, he's going to be our coach next year, whether it's on an extension or we bring him back on this option, and he's the coach. Now, that is a very strong move to do, even if you're moving on from a guy, if you don't mind paying him for another year. If someone has term left on their deal, like if someone wants to hire John Tortorella, they got to give the Flyers something for it.
Well, no, that's not true. The benefit that the Flyers would get from if somebody else hired Torts is that they no longer have to pay the rest of Torts' salary, because then you essentially rip up the deal.
I thought that there had to be some sort of compensation,
no, there's
like a
no
third-round pick or something.
No, once a coach has been relieved of his duties, that is essentially it. Like, the only way there's compensation is if, like, the coach is still the coach.
Okay.
But if once he's relieved of duties, no, I don't believe there's any compensation. Like, if someone would have hired Alain Vigneault last year, I don't think the Flyers would have gotten a pick for that. Now, if the Flyers, like, John Tortorella was still the coach, and then they essentially traded the coach to somebody else, then yes. But I don't believe that it's the case if a guy gets relieved of duties that you have to compensate the other team. It's just that right now the Flyers are obligated, because they relieved John Tortorella of his duties. They didn't fire him for cause. They relieved him of his duties. They are obligated to pay him $4 million next season to sit with his horses and his dogs on his farm.
The dream.
But if another team were to hire Tortorella this summer and sign him to another contract, then the Flyers no longer have to pay him the $4 million.
All right.
But going back to Tocchet for a second.
Tocchet, is it a coach or is it a team or a mutual option? Do we know that?
So based on my reading of the Elliot Friedman reports and the reports that I've read, I do believe it is a team option.
Okay.
However, I think the general assumption prior to Friedman's last report was that if Tocchet said he didn't want to come back, there was a good chance the Canucks weren't going to pick up the option, because it's like, well, we don't want a coach back who doesn't want to be here.
Hold them hostage, yeah.
Now it seems like the Canucks are basically saying, no, we're going to pick up the option whether you want to come back or not. You're going to be our coach next year regardless. This also could be them playing hardball so that they can get a pick back if another team wants to hire him. But that is the current word, is that Tocchet's going to be their coach next year, because even if Tocchet doesn't want to stay in Vancouver because he thinks it's a total dumpster fire of a situation, which it very well might be, Vancouver's like, nah, we think you're real good. We're keeping you.
We're all trying to find the guy who did this.
You know, I want to talk about Tocchet's credentials a minute, because he seems to be universally thought of as a good coach. He won like in the hockey world.
In the hockey world,
in the bubble that you and I are not a part of.
He is held in high esteem in the hockey world.
He is thought of as an accomplished coach, a coach who can win. You can win with. But like, yes, he won the Jack Adams last season. The Canucks shot 12% as a team, and Thatcher Demko was second in Vezina voting. The team as a whole put up a .909 save percentage. That sounds like a PDO bender to me. You know, you just had one of those years where
102.5.
Yeah, like you shoot way better than you usually do, and your goalie stops everything. Yeah, that's a great coach right there. Score and don't let them score on you. But you look at his overall resume. 9 seasons as a head coach, including this year. He's made the playoffs twice. Now he still could this year, but ain't looking good. And you look at the situation that kind of happened in the locker room now. Maybe JT Miller and Elias Pettersson are just petulant children, and no matter how much you smack them in the back of the head, they won't grow the hell up. But like, your 2 best forwards are in this blood feud that ended up in you had to trade one of them. Like, I don't really see the success throughout his career where he's like, why is he thought of as a good coach, and why is he kind of the presumed leader in the clubhouse for a job that he's not even eligible for as of this very moment?
So one thing I do want to say before turning it over to Kelly, because I want to hear Kelly's opinion on Rick Tochet. What I want to point out is that, and this is coming from the guy who all last season was saying that the Canucks aren't very good. This is a mirage. Stop acting like they're a cup contender. I was the the leader of the throwing water on the cold water on the Canucks to the point where like all of Canucks Twitter went at me for like
funny.
a 72-hour span.
Charlie doesn't have enough problems on the East Coast. He
greatest
also
enemy.
needs the Pacific time zone busting his balls too.
But I want to point out that while the Canucks definitely got lucky last year, and they did, they were very fortunate. They had really good goaltending and shot the lights out. It's not like they were a bad team.
No.
Like, I'm looking at their expected goals for percentage at 5-on-5 last season. Last season, they finished 8th in the league, 52.46. That is good. They would have been a playoff team even if they wouldn't have shot 12%. Now, they probably wouldn't have been win Rick Tochet the Jack Adams Award.
President's Trophy contenders, that sort of season.
But Rick Tochet would have still coached them almost certainly to a playoff spot, even without the good luck. So, like, before we talk about his resume, I want us to be in the state of mind where, like, let's not dismiss last year entirely as, like, it being a good year for him. It was a good coaching year.
Certainly.
It probably wasn't this, like, unbelievable best coaching season ever year because it was boosted by percentages, but it's not like it's not like this was Patrick Waugh where he got great goaltending and a great shooting percentage and the team got outshot 30-20 every night and he won a Jack Adams because he got insanely lucky. Tochet did coach well last year by the 5-on-5 results.
Don't want to take anything away. It's just last season with the Canucks and 2019-20 with the Coyotes, who were 11th out of 15 teams in the West because it's before expansion, but they win a qualifying round in that fake 2020 bubble 4 months after the actual season ended. Those are the only times he's ever been to the playoffs. He was an assistant coach on the back-to-back Penguins Cup teams in 16 and 17. It's funny. The time he was an assistant with Arizona under Gretzky, he basically got suspended for 2 years for his role in a gambling ring with Wayne Gretzky's wife.
His wife.
Yeah, that's probably. And now Gretzky's doing BetMGM commercials. That's fine.
That is kind of fun. I didn't even
so
make that
funny.
connection, but
Yeah, Kelly pointed
hilarious.
it out to me. Like, is it weird he's doing gambling commercials?
It
watching the
is
game.
weird,
Yes,
actually.
in fact, it is.
Yeah, it's weird.
Anyway, so that's kind of what Rick Tochet has been. He took over. He had one season, I think, in Tampa where he took over for that failed Barry Melrose experiment early in Stamkos's career.
He did.
But there just hasn't been like this long track record of success for a guy who is in the, amongst the 200 hockey men, like we always say. He's thought of as one of the better ones.
Yeah.
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah, sorry, Kelly.
Okay. So if we're gonna give Tochet credit for like the really good coaching that got 5-on-5 results for the Vancouver Canucks last year, did he just decide to coach differently this year and not get the good results?
Let me check what their results are this year because they might still be fine. I haven't kept up on the Vancouver Canucks results.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say, but there's an article in BSH today about
59.54, so they went down.
The idea that Tochet is not a good idea. So the three,
I saw that and laughed.
yeah, the three like their best offensive guys, Besser, JT Miller before he was traded, and Pettersson, all of them, their points per game have gone down from last year to this year. Mm-hmm. Which for me is a concern when our team is being built around a guy that I would like to have a lot of freedom to be offensive and score a lot of points. And as Bill said, I just don't know. I understand that Tochet's probably a really likable guy. He's probably friends with everybody in like a very Keith Jones way. And I'm sure that plays a huge part of why he's thought of as such a great coach, because he's a great hockey guy. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty much
100-point, 200 penalty minute guy.
That's the
Everyone loves the way he
qualification.
played.
Right, exactly.
He was on TNT. He was very personable. He's
Right.
a good communicator.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
But I look at his coaching record and I'm just not understanding, like, by what metric are we saying that he's a great coach that should definitely be considered for an up-and-coming team with arguably one of the most exciting players in the league?
And now listen, like we can make the comparison like we do often, like across sports. Bill Belichick, thought of mostly as the greatest NFL coach of all time.
He had a
Like,
guy.
like he did all right with the Browns. Like it was considering what the Browns were after and then are now. Like, yeah, he did okay. And then he was fine. And then he got the best quarterback ever and started deciding, oh, I know how to cheat. Great.
Right.
I'm great at cheating.
Exactly.
Why don't we do this?
Did he learn how to coach, or did he have the best quarterback in football
And
history?
I think those things do go hand in hand. Like, show me a
Yeah.
good coach, I'll show you a good goalie every time. That's what we say about the Jack Adams Award every year.
Just like last year.
Yeah, like exactly. But I don't want to totally dismiss like he could get on a team. Nobody wins with a bad team. Like, okay, look at what he did in Arizona and Tampa. Well, like, yeah, of course. Like, one of those teams went through 10 years of never being anything, and the other doesn't exist anymore.
That was always
Like,
the thing you
know?
heard was like, you can't really ding him for not making the playoffs with, was it Phoenix back then still?
Yes, I think it was still Phoenix.
Still Phoenix. Like, can't ding him because look at that team, look at that organization. Is that fair? I mean,
wouldn't a good coach get more out of them in the John Tortorella mold?
I think the argument you hear is that they were better than they would have been otherwise, even if they didn't make the playoffs. That was a dumpster fire of an organization that he got as much out of as he could have. That's what you hear.
Okay.
Do we think, like, and the contract stuff obviously plays into this, it seems as if he is the presumed favorite for this job if he becomes available in some fashion.
That seems to be what the media is pushing.
Considering, like maybe you have to give them something. 4 second-round picks, I can't imagine they're going to make all 4. Would be surprising to me. I don't want to give one up for a coach. I think that's dumb, but
I would rather
know,
not.
I don't know what's in Danny Briere's head. I think that's stupid, but who knows?
I personally wouldn't.
Like, I wouldn't do it, especially for like not a 4-time Cup winner or something. Yeah, man, if we could do that, sure.
Yeah,
this is a guy who's been to the playoffs twice.
The track record on its face is not that great.
Should he be the favorite? Do you think he's the favorite?
No, and I have no way of knowing that. Probably.
What I can tell you is that, like, long before John Tortorella was let go, I heard Rick Tochet's name come up a lot with people I talked to. Of like, that's what they're going to do. They're just going to hire Tocchet. Like, clearly, that's what's going to happen. Now, some of this is industry gossip, sure, but industry gossip comes from somewhere. It's not just people, it's not idle talk.
And
like, there's a reason why people have been connecting these dots for a while, and the fact that the unspoken thing here is that, like, and again, this is industry gossip, but like, I've been hearing for a while that like Rick Tochet's kind of done in Vancouver. That it's not that they're done with him. It's that he's like, this is a mess. I want to get the heck out of here, which is why it was interesting to see yesterday, 2 days ago, Friedman's report of, Vancouver ain't going to let him leave. That might be where that's coming from because they know through back channels that he's kind of done with this situation.
And like, if the Flyers want this guy and we have this opportunity to hold him to his team option, then how bad do they want it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, let's see.
Exactly.
But like I said yesterday, this is like, remember when people on like national media were making jokes about the Flyers signing Nick Delorier? Like, ha ha ha, that would be the most Flyers thing to do, like in a pejorative way, like not as a compliment.
I mean, some people were saying it in a positive way.
In the
I think
sense
like
that,
Elliot Friedman was saying it in a positive way.
But I'm saying, like,
fans online didn't take it positively.
if the most Flyers thing to do in an offseason is to sign an aging enforcer who's not going to bring anything apart from vibes to your roster, and then you go out and do it, you're not looking too good. And in my mind, if everyone in the national media says this is the most Flyers move, they're going to do this because it's the Flyers thing to do, that's not good. Like, that's all of the history that they're trying to erase of like the stupid, always doing the stupid Flyers thing. And it's just like, can we not do the Flyers thing that everyone's saying that we're going to do because they know that this organization does the same thing all the time? It's like, could we not?
That really does seem like your big sticking point. It's such the traditional Flyers thing to do.
And here's the thing, if it was Rod Brind'Amour, it's an entirely different conversation. He's got a track record of success, of coaching a really good team. Apparently, the players really like playing for him. Like, that's a whole different conversation. I'm not mad about bringing Rod Brind'Amour home to coach because I look at his coaching record. I'm like, oh yeah, that guy's probably a pretty good coach. I look at Rick Tochet and it's just like the only thing he has is used to go here. And so we're going to bring him back.
And was teammates with Jonesy. His second stint overlaps with Jones.
I think you're selling him short to say that's the only thing, just because.
And also, he's a coach now.
I don't hear I hear very you might be right that is the big thing for the Flyers. But I will say that, like, it's not like the perception that Rick Tochet is a good coach. And this perception might be wrong.
Yeah.
But it's not like the perception that Rick Tochet is a good coach is limited solely to the bubble around Philadelphia.
No, it's
the
a
whole
hockey
league thinks he's a good coach. Now, the league might be wrong, and they might be giving him too much of a pass for the Coyotes days and overrating how well he's done in Vancouver. But it's not like this is a guy who you have to be in the Flyers bubble to think he's a good coach. There are a lot of people outside of the Flyers bubble that also think he's a good coach.
I just wonder, like, let's say Pittsburgh fires Sullivan tomorrow, and now they have a coaching vacancy, and Tochet's one of the guys that's out there. Do we think that he's going to be, like, the front runner for the job in Pittsburgh? Probably not. Because there's
Penguins
probably
legend.
better
Yeah, he
guys.
did play for the Penguins for a while.
I know. But I don't know. I would just like to see them think outside of the box a little bit, because they've shown that they're able to. They can do hard things. Like, you don't have to make the chalk pick just because it's the easy one and he's your buddy and you want to hang out with him.
Well, I think the big thing, the reason why I disagree with, like, some of what you're saying, I agree with a fair amount of it. I disagree with some of it. I think one of the strengths of, like, if Tochet hits the market, I do not believe, I disagree with your contention that, like, he wouldn't be a desire candidate. I think a lot of teams would be interested in Rick Tochet. This is a guy who just last season won the Jack Adams. Now, we may poo-poo the Jack Adams as a goalie award. Hockey people do not.
I know.
There are a lot of teams, I think, if Tochet was available, not just the Flyers, would be interested in Rick Tochet. So I do not think this is a, like, oh, well, the Flyers are just going for him. They're the only team that thinks he's good. They would look at it as, this is a guy who a lot of teams are interested in, and we will get him over other teams because we have the connection. Not that we're only going for him because of the connection.
I see what you're saying.
All right, before we go any further with this conversation, a few more candidates I want to get to before some other things. Got to tell you about a couple of our sponsors. Gonna lead it off here with Game Time. Now listen, there's only a few hockey games left at the Wells Fargo Center. You're gonna want to go check them out, if for no other reason. Matvei Michkov, check him out this rookie year. You're gonna want to go, but hey, why not make that drive up to Allentown, catch some playoff hockey in the AHL? Whatever you want to do, you got to use Game Time to get in, because Game Time is the best secondary ticket marketplace on the whole freaking internet. That's right, and it's because of features like Game Time Picks. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only the best deals on the best seats, and you have all the other features that made Game Time so great. The all-in pricing, the seat view with a panoramic view, and the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Well, what time is it? It's game time. And now I got to tell you about our friends at Monarch Money, because I think we've had enough finance-related sponsors over the last few years. Most of our audience to know I'm not the most responsible spender. Love going out to restaurants, to games and events, taking spontaneous trips. When you do those things regularly, you can have a tendency to let your budget get away from you. And that's why Monarch Money has become such an important part of my financial planning and daily life. I love how easy it is to track all my finances in one place, so I can keep up on my accounts and know how far away I am from maybe my next getaway or my next treat myself purchase. Monarch Money acts like your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control so you can stop simply earning and start growing. Monarch is more than your average budgeting app. Monarch Money is a complete financial command center for your accounts, investments, and goals, so you can start managing your finances and build the life you actually want. And you can track all your spending, savings, and investments effortlessly with all your accounts, credit cards, and everything you need to take control of your budget in one place. And those are just a few of the reasons Monarch Money was named Wall Street Journal's best budgeting app of 2025. So get control of your overall finances with Monarch Money. Use code PHLY at monarchmoney.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code PHLY.
So, William, before we move on off of Tocchet, Where are you at with him? We know where Kelly's at. It's very anti.
I love.
I didn't want him the first time around either.
It's true.
You're
consistent.
Yeah.
Rick Tochet as a player, awesome. And since
Was great on TV.
yeah, and like, man, if they are good with him, his death stare, and just like because he's nuts, like he's still freaking Rick Tochet, you know. If this is the route they're gonna go, where it is the old boys club as we used to call it, like, I guess you could do worse. He's thought of as a good coach. It's fine. It just doesn't. I don't find it to be an exciting or inspiring hire, simply because like the track record of success isn't there, and it just seems like Kelly said, like the dots are so easy to connect. Did you even do a search? Did you check, or were you just like, I like him because I know him?
Yeah, exactly.
And it just, even if it's the right hire, it's not the least bit inspiring or exciting.
Also, like we just fired Mean Dad because Mean Dad was not working with this group of players. Maybe it worked for a little while, but it clearly stopped working. Maybe we don't hire another one of those right away.
See, I think this is where, because like I don't think that's fair to Tochet. I know that you said he's not going to do the psychological warfare stuff like Torch did, like scratching you during your home game. But like, he's still like the hard ass tough guy, right? Like he's still coach. Probably going to like yell a lot and scratch. I mean, I don't know. It feels like Tortorella light to me. I understand not as extra as John Tortorella could be from time to time, but still like in the same vein, coaching style wise. Okay. So here's something I want to say, because I feel like I get dragged into this sometimes, and then people think my views are different than what they are. I wouldn't hire Tochet. He's not one of my top choices. I'm more on the Bill side of like, he's just not that inspiring to me. It could work. It's not like he's not off my list, but he's not at the top. That said, I use that as a preface, because I'm going to disagree with what Kelly said. I don't want people to take that as like, Charlie's so in love with Rick Tochet. Like, no, I'm not. But I'm just prefacing so that I don't get those people I mentions for the next 3 days. The reason why I'm very skeptical of that characterization of Tochet, 2 words: Phil Kessel. Phil Kessel is about the most offensively oriented winger, super skilled, doesn't care about defense, tough for coaches to deal with.
Ain't gonna practice all that hard.
Yeah, like, you know, we've all heard the Phil Kessel stories.
Yes.
You know who was considered to be the Phil Kessel whisperer? Rick Tochet. Rick Tochet coached him in Arizona. He coached him in, he was the assistant coach in Pittsburgh. This is when they especially were like, this is great. If Rick Tochet can be like Phil Kessel's favorite coach, I find it very difficult to believe that he is like John Tortorella light, really.
Maybe. I mean, there are guys that like Torts too.
True, but the guys who like Torts were guys who hate after the fact. They hated him in the moment. Like, the idea with Tochet and Kessel was that, like, the only way you can get the best out of Phil Kessel is if Rick Tochet's on the coaching staff. And I just don't think that fits the narrative of Rick Tochet is just like Torts. Now, he is tough. One of the differences between him and Torts, I think, in terms of how the players may respond to him, is that Rick Tochet is tough and also is like tough. Like,
yeah.
There had to be a little bit of a struggle with players taking this really small guy who didn't play in the NHL seriously. Whereas, like,
you're yelling at me?
Yeah.
Tochet's a little bit more like Brindamore, where it's like, yeah, you know what? Like, I'll deal with you criticizing me because you could probably still beat me up.
Yes. I want to get to a couple more candidates, but just because Rick Tochet, like, is so much a part of the conversation, like the Miller Pettersson situation, and there's still a lot of details that we may never know or may come out later time, but like you have these 2 really freaking good players who just can't get along to the point that one had to go, and like one had to, like, JT Miller had to take a leave of absence, and then he gets traded, and like Elias Pettersson like can't live up to his potential because like this is going on, or whatever the hell the situation is. Like, this is going on in Rick Tochet's locker room. Do we ding him at all for this? Like, this thing that you look at Vancouver, and are they a complete team? No. But you look at the pieces, at least they had prior to like the deadline. Like there's some really good players on this team. Why the hell are they fighting for, at best, the second wild card spot? It's because this problem. Like, do we ding the coach for a culture issue, for lack of a better term?
I don't, without having more information. Because everything,
and that's what makes it difficult.
When I've talked to people, they more or less say that like most players seem to like playing under Rick Tochet. He is a popular coach. Now, if I do more digging and I hear that like, no, Tochet was a big part of that because he didn't manage the situation well, then that changes my opinion. But everything I've heard so far is that like, that was a player issue. That was a player issue that long predated Rick Tochet being head coach down there.
Yeah, those two never liked each other. It was a problem.
Yeah.
All right. I picked this thumbnail, and as predicted, like people. Oh yeah. People are like, so you're just trying to make us all mad today? Yes.
I don't think we're gonna have much debate on this one.
Lappy, Ian Laperrière, and the reason I bring him up is because it has to like. He's gonna get some sort of consideration.
He'll get interviewed.
Yeah, like an interview or a conversation or a thought of maybe being on the bench in some other role. Like, I just feel as if Ian Laperrière is going to be part of this conversation, if in no other way than every fan going, please, God, no.
You want to hear something? Maybe this is a little mean, but I'm sorry, I'm going to say it. I honestly might be more terrified of Ian Laperrière back on the bench as an assistant than him being the head coach.
That would also be terrible.
Because my view is like,
he did fail.
My negative view of Ian Laperrière is that like, I actually think he is probably good at fostering a positive atmosphere and developing young talent. I don't think he's a good X's and O's coach. I think he's actively poor at it. He's gotten better, but I don't think he's very good at it. I guess you could justify. I guess I could convince myself of him being head coach with that prior belief by saying like, well, he'll develop the young kids and they'll lose a lot, and then they'll get high draft picks for a couple of years, and then they can hire the guy they ultimately need to win. If you hire, like, let's say they go out and they hire a good and like an actually good head coach, and then they put Ian Laperrière back in charge of the penalty kill again. That's scary to me, because then you have a good team with one guy coaching a bad unit again.
What young player are we giving Ian Laperrière credit for developing?
I'm going to say Alexis Genjon.
I feel like a lot of them should be further along than they are.
Do you think so? Because they don't really have a lot of like really good prospects down there.
But like, how is Tuamala not ready for NHL time?
I would say the Tuamala, given the state he was in when the Flyers got him back over here, he's improved in leaps and bounds. When the Flyers brought him back over from Finland, he was an absolute mess.
Yeah.
According to Brent Flair, like he was crying. And then he came over here, and now he's a top 10 prospect in the organization again. So to me, that's like, you might look at it as, why is Tuamala not ready? I look at it as, before he came over here and played under Lappy, he was like not even in my top 20 anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend that I have like a ton of knowledge of the current state of the Phantoms, because I don't watch their games and I don't pay a lot of attention. I just know like Maddie doesn't like him as the coach.
Yes.
And she pays a lot of attention to them. So like, I just kind of trust that opinion.
Good article by Maddie up on Jet Luchenko's debut. It came out this morning.
Yes.
All PHLY.com.
She's the best. Yeah, so I don't know that he's doing anything.
They just don't seem to have graduated a ton of guys. Like even the ones who come up,
and the team as a whole doesn't seem very good.
Who's been the best Phantom called? Like Anthony Richard. Like he's just an AHL guy. Like
see, I think
Rodrigo's a 29-year-old dude who's just like, you either have it or you don't.
I can't believe I'm now getting into the point of defending Ian Laperrière.
You have to be devil's advocate for everybody today,
it's
Charles.
not. I'm not even being devil's advocate. It's just I think you guys are going too far in your criticisms of them.
I just like this is. We only have like the information we have.
Tyson Forrester, Bobby Brink, Helge Grans, Emil Andrae, like they brought guys up. Now, maybe none of those guys have developed into like impact NHLers as quickly as we would wish, but I don't think any of them have developed poorly.
No, it just seems as if, given how many draft picks they've had over the last few years, they should have graduated more than a few guys. That's all. Like Helge Grans has played a couple of games in the NHL. It's not as if
you mentioned Anthony Richard, so I'm saying like first off, Anthony Richard is a quad A guy.
No, that's the dudes who come up even to get that cup of coffee sometimes seem to be more like the tweeners rather than, this young guy has shown some promise. Let's bring him up. Let's get his feet wet. We've seen it did happen with Tyson Forster, and he was great in that call up, actually. Yeah. I think he had like 6 points in 7 games.
Yeah, he played well.
Other than that, I can't think of, I guess, Bobby Brink. Who else? Like Emil Andrae, he's still kind of going back and forth. We're going to talk about him if we have time a little later. Between that, the Phantoms' record, and what we remember of the penalty kill, as I always say, the only team worse than the Senators, who were openly caught making fun of their own team in a cab. Like, that's the information we have about Ian Laperrière, because we're not in the locker room. I don't know how to judge a coach other than his results. Doesn't seem to be going great for him. But I do think he is going to be in some semblance in the conversation.
I think he'll be in the mix. As I said, my big concern is that I don't trust that he can build a system that leads to consistent winning results. I mean, when he got hired to be the Phantoms head coach, he had never been a head coach.
Yeah.
And the only time he'd been an assistant coach, he failed miserably. Like seemed like he was doing well in the developmental role. And as I said, maybe I'm on an island here. I think he's probably at least good as a developer. He's a really good dude, and I think he generally does a good job of fostering young players. But I have no confidence in his ability to build a system that can allow the Flyers to continue to drive play to the rate that they were driving under Tortorella.
I just had to make sure who wrote this story, but on March 28th, Daily Faceoff put out an article. Flyers should give Ian Laperrière a look for next head coach. It was not written by Frank.
Frank doing PR. Yeah. It's his site, though.
It's Colton Davies. Yeah,
just Frank doing PR for Ian Laperrière.
Wanted to make sure it wasn't written by Frank.
It does seem like, but it does seem like Daily Faceoff. This is a solely Daily Faceoff creation, and I am no way, shape, or form questioning the integrity of Jeff Marek, especially.
Oh, not Marek.
But you're saying that there are 3 people who have said this: Frank, a guy who writes for Frank's site, and Marek, who now also writes for Frank's site.
And me. Just while we're on Lappy and dudes in or around the organization, what if they were to go with an out-of-the-box hire more so than Lappy?
Okay.
Jason Smith is an assistant there in Allentown. Former Flyer, captain? Jason Smith. Yes,
former
1 year as captain. To captain the team to a conference final in 1 year. Danny Heatley, Patrick Schauer, John LeClaire, Eric Lindros, Nick Schultz, Sam Moran, Chris Stewart, Sammy Kapanen. Do you think any of these former guys who were involved or around the team in some way are even coaching candidates? Do you think they have an out-of-the-box interview with somebody like Sammy Kapanen, for instance?
I once sat in a box next to Eric Lindros during a Flyers game, and I listened to him talk to himself about what was going on the ice for the entire game. I feel strongly he would be a good coach. He had a lot of things to say about what those idiots were doing. I feel like he'd be one of those
guys, not that Eric Lindros didn't have to work hard, but it's like Gretzky. Why wasn't he a good coach? It's go score a freaking goal. How? Yeah. Be better than them. Yeah. I don't know.
I do it. Yeah. I did it all the time.
Put your head down, skate through 5 guys like a bulldozer, and then truck the goalie.
At least for right now, no one in the NHL history has ever scored more goals than me. Yes. Do what I did.
Yeah, I feel like that would kind of be I don't know, but do you think any of these maybe they seem to like Danny Heatley, John LeClaire? They bring him up every time they talk about the power play. We're getting input not just from, and some of it is to alleviate Rocky.
Right.
They bring up other dudes because they have their monthly powwows on how to fix something that's the worst thing ever. Nick Schultz, Sam Moran, these are guys in the organization that they're kind of bringing along.
I can't imagine. None of these guys have the requisite experience
at all
to throw them in there. Look, I guess I can't rule out the possibility of an outside the box thing like this, but to me,
it's way outside.
Well, there's an element of this where it's if you're going to go outside the box, go actually outside the box. Like, go outside the box of former Flyers. Yeah. Like, if you're going to take a risk on a guy who's not a guy you know.
That's a fair point.
All right. And I have to bring up one of these more not out of the box, like traditional next man up things, like a highly thought of assistant.
Yeah, you just picked all the people who are going to annoy us today. You really did do that.
Did I? I mean, Mark Savard.
Well, Mark Savard is the first one where I'm like, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, like Lappy and Tocchet, that was simply to annoy everybody. But I do like they are actual candidates. I think
their names are out there.
Their names are on a list somewhere in that building,
and it makes sense. Again, like setting aside our views of these guys. Rick Tochet won the Jack Adams last year, and he might be available. He's obviously going to be a candidate. And Ian Laperrière is the guy who coaches the team. He's the head coach of the AHL team. These are logical candidates' names to be thrown out there in a coaching search.
Rick Tochet might be the only of the last 5 Jack Adams winners still employed by the team he won it with, which is just always
I'm just
fun.
saying, like, these are these are chalk names to be included in a coaching conversation for a team.
And I want to just go a little off the board with Mark Savard. He's an assistant in Toronto, and I saw his name mentioned in an article on the Hockey Writers, but they used this pull quote from a Julian McKenzie story from The Athletic.
Okay.
And I thought that this quote would inspire at least Kelly. Savard's philosophy is to trust his higher skilled offensive-minded players to be creative and free while in attack. He wants players consistently moving in order to find open spaces and constantly anticipating where their teammates will be. On breakouts, speed is the name of the game, whether that's in transition as they rush the blue line or race to the corners off a quick, short dump-in.
They certainly seem to let their offensive guys do offense in Toronto, so I'm not really surprised.
Would be interesting. I just think it's a little bit different. Like, a highly thought of assistant who isn't, Rick Tochet, for instance, because everyone was talking about Rick Tochet when he was an assistant in Pittsburgh, because, well, 1, we see him 4 or 5 times a year, and 2, it's Rick freaking Tochet.
Right.
We know who he is. Here's a guy who's an assistant on a team not in the division that we don't know.
If you hire another assistant, I feel like there's no way you're keeping Bradshaw, because you're pretty much saying, like, you're on equal levels. This guy's better than you. You know what I mean?
That's an interesting thought.
That's interesting.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe.
I mean, I don't know how committed Bradshaw is being part of this organization. Like, if he really wants to stay here, because, like, obviously, if he really wants to stay here, he would probably stay here under whatever circumstances were offered to him.
He was tied to John Tortorella.
That's true.
And they did just fire the guy who he was tied to.
But yeah, it just seems to me that, like, if you're hiring a different assistant coach, that's kind of just like, all right, well, you didn't want me because I'm an assistant coach. I guess I'll just go F myself someplace else.
I mean, maybe.
It's obviously just speculation.
I do think that's something that the way maybe if they wanted to spin it, because Shaw might take that personally. He might. But maybe the way you spin it to him is this. We want to hire a young coach who can grow with this team. You're 60 years old.
And we're depending on you to kind of
guide him.
Be part of it. But I can see him going like...
Yeah, I can see that too. I can see him being annoyed.
Like, this is like, if you go with an established head coach, okay, understandable.
Right.
Mike Sullivan, couple of cups, something like that. You hire an assistant. It's like, but I excelled in this role. Remember when we got Jamie Drysdale and he wasn't an NHL player and now he's pretty good?
Yeah.
What did Mark Savard do for you? Like, I can see that being a conversation.
It would be a very human response for Bradshaw to be annoyed, which is why, like, Kelly, it's an interesting idea because maybe
I hadn't considered that.
Maybe.
All right. Before we move on today, I think that'll wrap up pretty much the coach conversation. I'm going to throw a couple of guys into the mix for our 4 p.m. shows up until the point we actually know who the coaches are. I want to talk about Cam York in a second, but first, got to tell you about our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. From the 90 million users worldwide to the almost 800,000 events they stream each year, the early payouts across the NBA and NHL, the pioneering the live in-game betting, Bet365 is my sportsbook of choice, and I think it should be yours too. I am a big fan of a lot of their features. The Face ID sign-in, love that. It takes me back and forth from Jersey to PA, regardless of where I am, so that's pretty nice. You don't have to sign out, open up a different app. It's a pain in a lot of sports books. Bet365 makes it pretty seamless. And now we have breaking news from our presenting sponsor, Bet365. New customers now get $150 in bonus bets when you bet just $5, win or lose. All you got to do is sign up, use the code PHLY365, deposit $10 and place a bet for $5 to get $150 in bonus bets, whether your initial bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, totals, player props, futures, and more. Well, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in PA. If you or someone who has a gambling problem wants help, call 1-800-GAMBLER. And while we're here, I got to tell you about Timeline. That's right. Timeline sells health and longevity supplements featuring their proprietary MitoPure ingredient. MitoPure works with the cells in your body to help reverse age-related decline. And the benefits include increased strength, energy, and endurance. We've heard from a number of our hosts here at PHLY who've been using Timeline for a couple of weeks already, seeing these benefits. And it makes sense because Timeline has done over 15 years of research and secured over 30 U.S. patents for these products. These are proven to work. And listen, it's worth trying out. Absolutely. If you're starting to get to your mid-30s, your 40s, you're starting to feel a little slowing down, why not try out Timeline? Listen, the cells in our bodies, they are the building blocks of life. And Timeline is a supplement that works with those cells to help give you more energy, feel stronger during workouts, and preserve health and mobility as you start to age. And right now, Timeline is giving you 10% off your order of MitoPure. Go to timeline.com/PHLY to get started. That's timeline.com/PHLY. All right. I want to talk about York for a second. Wanted to get to this yesterday, but we yelled at each other for 40 minutes, so we didn't have time. First of all, I went back and actually listened to the Chicklets thing. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know what? I read it, and we kind of did this with the Tortorella comments, and it's like, well, when you hear it and you read it, it comes off different.
Yes.
No, this didn't.
It was clearly him saying this is what was said.
It's like first Keith Yandel being like, I played with Cam York, and he's smart guy, good player, passionate, but this is not something like him in a screaming FU match with the coach. Not something you'd expect out of him.
No, definitely not.
And Biz jumps in. It's like, oh, so you know what happened. And he goes, no, I'm not saying that, not saying that. And that's when Ryan Whitney kind of comes in and gives the whole, I'm going to be here longer than you thing to Torts. And Torts comes back. If you resign, I'm going to bury you.
Oh, is that what he said that York said?
Apparently that's
York
kind
said,
of,
I'm going to outlast you, old man. That's pretty funny if that's what he said.
Apparently, Torts has been we've heard this reported a number of places. Cam York has become Torts' whipping boy.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Like, that's the way it's gone.
Yeah,
and
clearly.
This was Cam York finally going like, you know what, old man? Kind of lost it on him. Yeah. And that's when Torts comes back. Well, if you do resign, I'm going to bury you.
Ooh.
And so they're like, oh, so Whit, you know what's being said. You know what happened. He goes, I'm just telling you what I've been told. And that seems as if somebody in or around the organization was like, yo, you won't believe what happened in the locker room.
That would make sense because I could see Cam York saying that. Just finally just fed up. And just saying what we've said on this show so many times, which is coaches don't have a long shelf life, so you think you're going to win this? Guess what? I'm still going to be here in 5 years, and you ain't, buddy. And I could see that. That makes sense to me.
To bring it back to what Sarah Volley was saying on his show the day following the firing, there's been this idea that John Tortorella is the arbiter of who has it and who doesn't. Why are you in what are you're not above the GM or anything, bro.
Yeah.
Kind of that sort of conversation. So I can see all these things kind of starting to paint the picture of what was the final straw in the John Tortorella experience.
And what I was told the night, because this is why it rings as a plausible explanation, because what I was told the night of the night he sat but didn't play. So that was the night
day after, yeah.
the night of the Tortorella firing, not the game where he got in the shouting match, but the first game post Tortorella.
Yeah.
Because I was digging and I was asking people like, did you hear anything? And what I had heard was disciplinary issue. It wasn't anything super serious, but it was something that they felt like they needed to nip in the bud and address. And that is the kind of comment where you're like, yeah, like that's not worth a suspension or trading him or like sitting him down for the rest of the year. But it is something where it's like, yeah, that's pretty disrespectful of the coach to be like, you're going to get fired soon. I'm going to outlast you, buddy.
You actually have no authority over me.
Yeah.
Isn't something that the player can get away with.
Yeah.
So,
but it's also like, number one,
it's also
understandable
true.
given the
Oh,
circumstances.
yes,
and number two, like not so bad that you're like, this dude is a bad dude.
when you told me like you were checking York for his demeanor on the bench with binoculars.
Yeah, I was.
In that game where it's not actually a game played for him because you have to step on the ice or at least like serve a bench minor or something.
Right.
It has always reminded me, like it's reminded me these past couple games or whatever of when Charlie Manuel finally had enough with Jimmy Rollins, like not running stuff out. And I think he was like late for a game and like he benches J-Roll. And then in an interview, Jimmy Rollins just goes, man, if I was to be mad at him about that, it would be like stealing something and then getting mad when the police show up. Like everyone's just doing what they're supposed to be doing here. Like, yeah, I didn't run out that grounder, and I know this is a potential. Like Cam York is just like, yeah, I had to sit a game. So be it.
Yeah.
Well, but
Such is life.
But again, it's easy to sit when you're like, I got what I wanted.
Yes, ultimately,
I got what I wanted.
I was soft suspended, but the coach is fine. Like, don't have to see him ever again.
If that's actually
won.
what he said, he's like, it literally proved me right.
I was correct.
I was correct. I was actually right.
And in fact, it took a month less. Like, I have to now deal with this for a month less. Yeah. But Cam York, the player, and I want to talk a bit about the defense here. So, comes back Saturday, plays almost 19 minutes, 1 shot on goal, 1 hit, 2 blocks, +1. Monday, 2 attempts, no shots. A couple of stats here and there, even about 18 minutes. He's not getting the time he was. Like, even like leading up to like, and after the scratch, the March 8th scratch, he was getting 22, 23 minutes. And we're like, well, he's playing his role. Like, this is where he is penciled in. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, Sealer, I hate to do this to you, especially at this point in the season, because like, you're probably in a lot of pain. But guess what, bud? You're playing 22 minutes a night. And it's, okay, I guess so. Ultimate team player, Nick Sealer.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Drysdale's been getting around his 19 to 20 that he's been getting. He's had a few big games in there. But even with, like, this seriously limiting Andre's time right now, Cam York just, and we've heard it's actually Brad Shaw who controls the D pairs, all that, and now he's the head coach. He's playing him less. What do we make? It's not like he's playing 12 minutes. He's playing 18, 19, but it's not the 22, 23.
So my guess, and look, maybe part of this is a little bit disciplinary. Maybe. It's possible. I mean, Brad Shaw's really good friends with John Tortorella. Maybe he's like just a little annoyed that, got his boy fired.
Yeah.
But I think it's more about the fact that they want to give York Drysdale a look.
Okay.
I think it's more about that, and this is just a byproduct of like, no,
he's not playing with Sanheim.
You're not going to play him as much as you were when he was playing with Sanheim on the first pair. I think it's more that, but I'm curious, Kelly, what your theories are.
I mean, that makes perfect sense now that you've said it out loud. I just maybe assumed it was just like he hasn't been good.
Yeah, that is a really good point.
Maybe they're like waiting for him to earn his ice time back or something. I just assumed it was something like that. I didn't think there was like a larger like Bradshaw is still out to get Cam York.
Oh, I don't think that.
No. I just think
find
it's like,
it interesting.
No, that's a reasonable point though, because it did kind of get lost in the John Tortorella of it all. Like, once we're debating about like what happened and what did he say? Was he right? Was he wrong? What did kind of get lost in that is that like, look, John Tortorella almost certainly overreacted both with the benching and then also with whatever was said in the room. But it's not like he was wrong that York screwed up. And it's not like it's untrue that York was playing poorly in the lead up to that discipline.
Yeah.
And that's a really good point that maybe it could be partially that, hey, once we set aside all the craziness and all the drama, we're still left with a defenseman who isn't playing as well as he can. And maybe we're not going to give the defenseman who isn't playing that well as much ice time as we would give him if he was playing well.
All right, I want to come back to this defense conversation, but I have some house cleaning things we have to do first. Of course, we need you to hit that like button.
Yeah, hit the like button.
Do it.
We're over
hit the
100.
freaking like button.
Maybe we get to 200.
I'm
That'd
going
be
to
cool.
get to 420 likes every show. That's the goal. That's a ton of likes. But we have to pick a winner from Saturday's postgame and the keyword challenge. Of course, it's very easy to enter during the postgames. I give you a keyword. You DM it to either the PHLY Flyers Twitter or the PHLY Flyers Blue Sky account. All the names go into a bucket each game, and then I pick a winner. This is from Saturday's postgame when the keyword was Calder. That's right, as in Matvei Michkov should win the Calder Trophy. And we're going to mix the names up here in the bucket to see who that winner is and get us caught up on our winners. I have to narrow it down to one. All these papers are stuck together. There we go. And it is Charlie Yutkowitz on Blue Sky.
Okay.
So
I was gonna
Charlie,
say, better not be
Charlie
me.
O'Connor.
Better not be me.
Charlie,
Charlie's ineligible to win.
Yutkowitz.
I'm
Yes.
definitely ineligible.
All right. So you have won your choice
Love it.
of a PHLY Flyers shirt. I will be in touch in the DMs. And while we're here, gotta take you to our Shady Rays Future is Bright segment. Future so bright here in Philly, even when things look as bleak as they do right now. You need a great pair of Shady Rays to protect your eyes. And PHLY viewers and listeners, go to shadyrays.com and save 35% off the polarized sunglasses that over 300,000 people have rated 5 stars with code PHLY. That's shadyrays.com.
It's not bleak, William.
You know, I mean, they're winning. They're winning and we're mad. They're losing and we're mad.
Yeah, knock it off.
The coach we had was never right for the rebuild, but then we fired him, and suddenly actually firing him is what made them good. So we should have kept him, even though everyone hated him.
As I said on the last post game, the reason why I am so exhausted with this season is it's just jumping from one thing to be mad at to another,
but
to another,
this,
to another.
This is something
balls
in the
a
Shady
tub.
Rays
Never
future.
stops.
Future is bright. Karsen Dorwart going to make his debut
Dorwart.
this week.
Well, so we're not going to have a lot of time to talk about it on this show, but I have post-practice notes because I was at practice today, and it was the first time that Karsen Dorwart was on the ice with his teammates. And I was there, interviewed him.
Ooh.
We had some comments from Brad Shaw about him, and all of that is in my Flyers post-practice notes video, which should be up very soon. I would say very soon after the show is done.
I saw Brenna working on it before the show.
Brenna was hard at work.
Now she's producing, so I assume it'll be up soon.
We're beefing up these videos when we can. So there was some cutting of videos that that Brenna is amazingly doing for us. So that added to the time that it was going to take to get it done. But it should be up relatively soon. So check that out. But yes, Karsen Dorwart. Signing from Michigan State University, signed on Saturday, was up in the box with Jonesy and Danny on Monday during the game, got through his medicals yesterday, and today was on the ice with his teammates. Brad Shaw confirmed today he will be playing in Montreal, making his NHL debut.
Outstanding. So we will be there for his debut. My take on just undrafted free agents as a whole is grab as many as you can.
Yeah, why not?
Because all they cost is money. That's
And
it.
a contract.
Yeah,
The
and a
LEF
contract
50.
slot.
So you don't want to sign all of them.
Yes, but like maybe there's something, maybe they're not. But it's a player you don't have to spend any other assets on, and maybe they end up being a Matt Reed or a Pierre-Edouard Bellemare or a Michael Raffel. Now these college free agents, like we've seen Matt Reed, especially his first 3 seasons, be a really good addition. And then we've seen like Mike Vecchione play 3 NHL games. He's really good AHL player. Won some Calder Cups. He's a contributor, but like that's it. That's what Mike Vecchione is. What should our expectations be for this college free agent?
1C.
Oh, definitely
No?
a 1C.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I would
thought that was
say
reasonable.
like hope he's a good 4th line center. If you're talking about like pie in the sky dreams, Noah Cates.
Okay.
That's like if everything breaks right and the hockey sense is just so good that he can, see plays before they happen, despite the fact that he's not like a burner and he's not a super high skill guy. Noah Cates is like your absolute best case scenario. Median scenario, NHL 4C. there's a decent enough chance he's just an AHLer, though, because a lot of these guys ultimately end up being that. But you know what? They like him. Apparently, according to Karsen today, Jonesy and Danny have been talking to him all season. This is a guy that they've been targeting for a while, and that's the big reason why he signed with the Flyers is because, number one, opportunity. Flyers don't have a lot of centers. And number two, he felt like they really wanted him.
And there's a reason, like, we've heard it was a rumor for like 2 weeks before his season ended that they were getting him. We are heading to overtime. Head over to allphly.com to keep watching. Yeah, I just want to mention Jet Luchenko also made his debut, played the Phantoms weekend back-to-back, picked up his first career assist, first professional point on a Garrett Wilson goal.
He got another point today?
And today, the Phantoms played a 10:30 a.m. game on a Wednesday.
Yeah. I used to like those. They were fun.
He picked up his second assist on Alexis Gendron's 19th goal of the season. Bridgeport Islanders, 10:30 a.m. on a Wednesday.
The AHL is so fun. I miss having them here.
All right. I want to get to Emil Andrae real quick. This most recent call-up, 12 games, no points, -7. He's played under 15 minutes in 3 straight. He's played 61 games. We've seen him banged up. We've seen his ice time fluctuate. Obviously, he's been shuttling between Allentown and Philly. How are we evaluating Emil Andrae this year? Like, he looked so good in that first.
He's very clearly not playing as well as he played the first call.
Or the first
extended call-up, I guess.
Yes, because his first call-up this year, he didn't actually play.
He was there.
Yeah, he was just hanging out.
Yeah.
But, like, we've seen him really good. This time around, it's been a little bit of a drop-off.
He's a guy who I legitimately worried way more than a Michkov. He was a guy who I legitimately worried that Torts messed with set because he was playing so well. He was playing so confident. He was doing all these great things, drive and play. He had that one play on that Tampa road trip, the Florida road trip, where like he was against the Panthers, where like he pulled a Goss's bear and blasted, carrying the puck beside his own net and scared everybody to death. But it's a great play. Those are the plays he was making. And then he has like 1 or 2 not great games, and Tortorella is just like, nah, I'm done with this guy. And I just don't know if we've seen the same exciting, risk-taking defenseman in this second recall. Now, you would hope that, like, with Tortorella gone, maybe he takes more risks, but maybe now it's drilled into his head and he's got to recalibrate a little bit. I worried about Andrae more than any other player this year in terms of development, that Torts was hurting his development.
Now, we can blame Torts, but of course it was Charlie O'Connor who famously dubbed Emil Andrae a top 4 NHL defenseman.
And then Torts got real mad at me about that.
He played a bad game because top 4 NHL defensemen never have off nights.
Never.
Travis Sanheim, famously great every night.
Every single game. Travis Sanheim. He's got 8 points in his last
Travis
50
Sanheim,
or so.
but let's be honest.
No, I know. It's just funny. And then, of course, that led to Torts calling out Charlie for calling him a top 4 defenseman. And then like a week later, he's back in the AHL. Can we blame Charlie for Emil Andrae too?
In retrospect, we should have known this was going off the rails a long time ago. We were explaining away a lot of Torts behavior.
When a young player is getting like 17 to 20 minutes a night and like doing well, and then has 1 bad game, maybe 2. Let's say it was 2. And then this guy is telling the media they're wrong for saying he's good.
To spite
you know
the
what?
media.
This was coming apart. This was coming apart at the seams.
I think so.
In retrospect, I think it's like you can say that. That said, like last year, Torts did crazy things. The first season, Torts did crazy things. So it was easy for us in the moment to just be like, oh, it's just the Torts experience, right?
But this is like Torts does Torts stuff. But this one was like, I don't know, why are you going out of your way to like criticize a guy for no reason? Like a young player who's doing well on a bad team. Like, I don't know, criticize the good players. Yeah. Like, criticize Travis Sanheim, why don't you?
And my point through the whole thing, and why, like, I didn't, like, yell at Torts, but I was just kind of like, I probably did, like, a Cam York, like, oh, here goes this freaking guy again. But it was just kind of like, you're yelling at me for calling him a top 4 defenseman. You're using him in the top 4.
He played 21 and a half minutes last night.
That's why I'm calling him that, because you're the guy who gives out the minutes, and you're using him on the second pair. Like, what should I call him, John?
All right. Just real quick, I want to maybe tomorrow we'll start to look back on our preseason predictions and talk about stuff. But Travis Sanheim, Barry Ashby, no question.
Oh, yeah. Who else?
If Risto doesn't get hurt, is it him?
Could have been.
He would have had a case had he
Yeah.
finished out the entire year. He would have had a case because he was playing very well prior to the injury. I don't even think Sanheim has had it. He had a very good start.
His first half was good.
His first half was very good. Second half, I don't think he's been awful, but the offense has dried up, and that's been concerning. I think it's more like he probably gets the award more by default than by like, oh man, Travis Sanheim had an amazing
Oh
year.
yeah, it's certainly. All right.
default award for
I want to get into some of this stuff tomorrow. Maybe we'll do that. Let's do the super chats.
Oh yeah, we do have super chats.
I
probably.
forgot about super
Yeah.
chats. No tankathon today. We'll do
Super
it
chats.
tomorrow. The odds won't change. From JH, if they hire Lappy, I'll tear down the Farg myself.
I'm with you,
I mean,
buddy.
it won't be the Farg by the time the hire is made, right?
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I mean, I think
it's like May 1st or something.
maybe they'll make the change quicker because it's
Neither team is in the
neither team's
playoffs.
making the playoffs because
Yeah.
the idea was we'll change they'll make the change in the summer when
No one's playing.
when the playoffs are done. But that said though, there are events.
There's stuff. Yeah.
So there's events at the Wells Fargo Center. There probably is a hard stop date when the Wells Fargo naming rights expires. So I guess it just depends on how early they hire a coach. Probably will still be the Wells Fargo Center though, because my guess is they'll make the hire in like April or May.
They'll do it like
IBX
tomorrow
Center,
and
right?
ruin.
Definitely IBX.
I think they might do something like Philadelphia Spectrum at IBX place
Presented
or something
by
like that.
presented by
like
IBX,
Camden Yards or Mile High, like the way they have
Yeah.
like a sponsor name with something else.
I do think the chances of them redubbing it the Spectrum are lower because now there's
now there's going to be a new
there's
building
going to be a new building.
that they can call the Spectrum.
Yes,
Yeah.
the new building maybe they'll call the Spectrum.
Yeah, I fully expect that. All right, from another one here from JH. Since we're getting into garbage time of the season, I have two questions. Who's the funniest beat reporter in the press box, and what movie are you most looking forward to this summer?
Charlie's the funniest.
Yeah,
obviously.
who's
Who's the
like, is there
funniest?
anyone up there cracking jokes? Like Al isn't really in the press box anymore,
No.
but
He's funny.
he's understated funny.
Al has that
He'll,
dry
like,
sense of
dry
and
humor.
he'll like tie
yeah.
your shoes together when you're not looking.
Yeah,
and stuff like
we're
that.
talking about Al Morganti
Yeah,
for those who
Morganti,
don't
yeah.
know. I would say I don't think any of the main beats are cracking jokes all the time.
They seem
I
humorless.
feel like Jordan Hall is probably the
You
inspiration.
love Jordan.
He's the inspiration
nice
for a
boy.
lot of the jokes because we rag on him all the time, and that is and he's a very good sport and he takes it well.
Charlie has told me.
nice.
Yeah.
Charlie
Nice
has
to
told
him.
me he thinks Jordan Hall might be Batman.
He might be Batman because all he does is work, and we like
No
have
one
tr-
knows
we've
what he's up
tried to
to.
invite him out to things, and he always has some excuse like, oh, this is why I can't go to the bar, this is why I can't get dinner, and I'm like, maybe he's Batman.
Some of us
Maybe.
are introverts with social anxiety, Charles.
Perhaps, well,
Some of us are billionaires who are secret superheroes.
exactly. Jordan Hall is Batman.
Yeah. I've never seen him and
But-
Batman in the same place.
But I
You
wouldn't
make a fair
say
point.
that Jordan. And another reason why I make the joke about Jordan Hall being Batman is because Jordan, unless this is an extended bit, and if it is, I give him all the credit in the world. But I think it's sincere. He does not know anything, and I am not exaggerating, anything about pop culture. He's seen no movies. He knows no music. Like, you'll name these like big artists, and he'll just be like, who? And it's not him joking. He's
a
dead
delightful
serious,
boy.
which is again like the only way this makes sense is if like he's going out every night and being Batman. Gives him no time to do anything else other than be Batman and write about the Flyers.
I believe it.
I can see it. Any interest in any movies you've heard coming out?
I haven't been paying attention to movies that are coming out, so I don't have anything that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I feel like there are some, but I just can't think of any off the top of my head. I'm so in Flyers mode right
Yeah.
now. I'm in survive the rest of the season mode.
I want to see. I like dumb, stupid movies only.
Naturally.
I want to see this movie Novocaine that's like out right now. I think where a dude just can't feel pain.
Oh,
It's like a
really?
stupid action movie.
Okay.
And there's a
Oh, is that the one with the? That's the one with the guy from The Boys,
Yeah,
Quaid's
I
kid,
think
right?
so,
Jack
yeah.
Quaid. Yeah, I think I saw that.
and there's a
advertised.
remake of The Running Man coming out, and Schwarzenegger's Running Man.
Wait,
is great,
who's
so
gonna
I'm
be
see that.
who's gonna be the host? Who's gonna be the Family Feud guy?
Oh, that is a good question.
Because that's Richard Dawson, right? Because that's a classic '80s
Yeah.
action movie.
Drew
and,
Carey.
and Richard Dawson is so good in that movie.
It looks like William H. Macy's in it, so maybe him. I'm not sure though. I haven't actually seen any of the
like RIP to this guy, but I feel like, and I'm not. That's not a joke. Like I'm being sincere. I feel like this would have been like the perfect opportunity for like Alex Trebek to like to play totally
really
against
be
type,
funny as hell.
to play totally against type.
Yes.
Yeah, that would have been incredible.
All right.
He would have been a great remake of Running Man host.
All right, let's see this one from Kylan Dale. If Luchenko tops out as a two-way, middle-of-the-road 2C, is that good enough? Can the rebuild still work if Luchenko is good but not great?
I don't think any of us are expecting him to be a 1.
I think it can work. Yeah,
I think the rebuild can work if he is a good 2C.
You just need to get a 1C.
But Mike Richards was a really good 2C. And I know we've had so many next Mike Richards, but if he's that 60 points and could not win a Selke, but be top 10.
We need
Mike
a good
Richards
2C.
could have won a Selke.
He could have.
Yeah.
He got nominated one year.
Yes.
Almost won.
Yeah. It's just, yes. He in his best year, he could win one, but he's a top 10-ish kind of guy somewhere in there, but maybe not like a finalist every year. I could see that being
I think it really just depends on what your definition of a middle of the road 2C.
Middle of the road,
because
yeah.
if a middle of the road 2C is, and obviously not stylistically because Jet Luchenko is smaller and way faster than he was, but if middle of the road 2C is like Sean Couturier in his 40-point days, no, I don't think that's enough. But if middle of the road 2C is Mike Richards play driving 60-point 2C, yeah, I think that's definitely enough because that's a really good player.
Yeah, I think that's kind of, it can work. It can work if Jet Luchenko's a bust. It's just harder.
Yeah, it's all harder.
But if he is a good 60-point 2C, yeah, man, it'll be
Again,
fine.
you just need to find that 1C somewhere.
Yeah. There will always, however, be
any day now.
No matter what, there'll be the Zeev comparisons, and that'll be a lot of fun for us for the next 20 years.
Until, again, Jet Luchenko scores the game-winning goal in Game 7 of the Cup final. Then all is forgiven.
He could do it in Game 6. That would be okay.
Sure, why not?
And from, what does it say? Joe Rockhead? That's funny. But what money would each of you pay your?
I feel like that's an entire
That's a whole show.
That's a whole show.
But this is a 1 or 2 year.
Yeah, I think
bridge.
he's getting a bridge deal.
Like 3-4 mil.
I would
right
guess
now.
around like 4 mil.
All
Yeah, something like
contracts
that.
should be 2 years long.
We know, Kelly. It is very
It would
funny.
be best for the players, probably.
Most
of the time.
Most intensely pro-labor person here.
It's better for them, unless they bust out.
Yeah. True.
I mean, once they're 30, it's better for them to get 8-year deals.
True.
But when they're young,
Yeah.
probably better to get the short-term deals.
Yeah, play yourself into more money, bud. And if you don't, that's a you problem.
All right. And that is all the time we have for you on PHLY Flyers, presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app. Use code PHLY365 when you sign up. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Make sure you're following us right here on YouTube. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 p.m. 3 of these in a row. It's like Christmas.
Wow.
All right. Of course, we're off Friday. We'll be traveling to Montreal, but we'll be here with there will be a pre and post on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. We'll be all right here on the YouTube page. Hit that reminder bell so you never miss a live show. Hit the like button. Follow us on Twitter at PHLY_Flyers, and follow the podcast wherever you get those. Just search PHLY Flyers. That's it. I'm Bill. That's Charlie. That's Kelly. Thank you all for joining. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.